Good evening, everyone. Welcome to FGM eCast presenting the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. Thanks to HJ Plant Repairs, coming live to you tonight from Zolder Raceway. A new track for us, not been here before, and nor has the series as we get into Season 2 of this tremendously successful series, the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. We did see a fantastic first series with Jack Boyd taking out the championship there. So we're back here for another season. The guys have changed the format in what can only be said to be significantly. With us running a pro and an amateur championship, we've got basically the series spread over Europe, the Americas and Australasia throughout the championship, which runs from this week with our wildcard week on the obviously the 27th of October, which is today. And then we move into some sprint mixed enduro formats, heading to Nürburgring, followed by Imola. We're then off to Zandvoort, and to conclude the European segment of this championship, off to Le Mans. We then move to America, or the Americas I should say. 1st of December we're at Watkins Glen. Then we've got Road Atlanta, Circuit of the Americas, Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, and then followed by Daytona. And then we conclude the series in Australasia with Oran Park, Suzuka, Okayama, Phillip Island, and of course concluding at Mount Panorama on what looks like a distant 2nd of February. What I do need to tell you is the wildcard weeks are the 27th of October, 1st of December, and 5th of January. In the Americas at Watkins Glen, we're running the 87 NASCAR at that track. That will be very interesting. And also, it's the classic circuit, so it's without that new segment in the track. And then we head to Oran Park in the Audi 90s, which are berserk, and it's going to be very interesting to see how the drivers adapt to that. Otherwise, the series itself has moved to the LMP. My slip there, have moved to the GT1 category, where we're going to see the Corvette head-to-head with the Aston Martin throughout the series. A change that was voted on by the drivers, so a little bit of democratic process gone through there to get to the conclusion where that's what the guys wanted to switch to from the GT3s of last season. And let's see if Jack Boyd can continue to dominate this series. We've got some new entrants as well. So what we've got tonight is we've got a wildcard series. So basically what that event means is that if any of the amateur drivers running tonight, which will have an amateur sign on their car, as you'd be used to in any form of racing, noted by that AM symbol, if they finish in the top 2 places this evening, they will go into or be promoted to the pro class. So running that dual structure in the series, and it will be really cool to see who manages to make their way up and jump across. Certainly an exciting layout, an exciting way to set the series up, and looking forward, as always, to seeing what this series produces. So we've got some of the usual suspects back from last year, being Jack and Glenn Boyd. Luke Bergen's back as well. I can tell you Matty Catalleone is back running in the series now as well. There is race control been introduced to the series too, so a few changes. We did have, race control last year, but I'll continue to do that all night, so please excuse me when I keep saying last year. But we did have race control last season, and so that has continued this season as well. So good to see HJ Plant Repairs coming back on board as the marquee sponsor for this series, and we welcome them back. And I can tell you as well that this season Ferguson Group Media is bringing you our qualifying award as well. So we're about 30 seconds away from getting that. Turtle Trust, thanks very much for the like. We appreciate that. And as always, encourage everyone to get involved in the chat and let us know why you're watching, where you're watching, and who you're watching. We know the V8 Supercars are on tonight, but they certainly won't be as interesting as the racing will be here in these prototypes that we're running in the first of the wildcard rounds for the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. So jump in, let us know why you're watching, what you're watching, and have a good chat, and look forward to speaking with you over the course of the evening. Scotty Rankin, my co-commentator, running a little bit late at the moment, so hopefully he'll jump in at some stage during the stream. And we're about to get into a 30-minute qualifying session. Sorry, my apologies, a 25-minute qualifying session here for the first round. So we are still running a fixed series as well, so all these cars set up exactly the same in terms of between the makes. So obviously tonight running the Daytona prototype, all the cars with exactly the same setup loaded in, and between the two, the Aston Martin and the Corvette, they will be set up with a fixed setup for the majority of it. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what's happened there. We've gone straight into a race heat, so perhaps it did indicate on my timing monitor there that was practice, but maybe we've jumped straight into a race here. So we do have the first of two races coming up now. So let's quickly run through the qualifying grid. It will be a rolling start, and it should be a 25-lap event. Sorry, 21-lap event. My apologies again. Just getting stuck a little bit here. All right, so we've got Jack Boyd on pole with Tom Katsadonis in second place. A new name to the series. Welcome, Tom. Jeremy Clark and Luke Bergen's back for another round. We've got Matty Cardaleone there, ATMR Racing, with Josh Perwin as well. Welcome to the series. Cooper Murray in 7th. And we've got BJ Kennedy out of 8th. Glenn Boyd out of 9th. Sam Lehman out of 10th, both returning again for another season. Matty Johnson out of 11th with Simon Lartner out of 12th. We've got Justin Schweikert out of position 13 as we just wait for this to switch over, catch up for us. There we go. Daniel Webster out of 14th, Sam Thurtell out of 15th, and Brady Buchanan out of 16th position for this first of the two races this evening. So we've actually got a 25-minute race followed by a 45-minute reverse grid race for this evening, as we are just making our way around this Zolder circuit. So we'll switch that back there so we can look at the time that has elapsed as a priority there. We'll get that back going for you, and let's get into it. Just waiting for the pace car to come around and disappear off the track. So these cars running available liveries rather than custom liveries in some cases. So with this one being a one-round event in this make. The track map up there for you as well, so you get an idea of where we're racing. Still got the old setup here for this one, so we'll leave that there for you. Something that I'm not overly familiar with, so we'll get used to it together. Looks like it's got certainly the chicanes throughout the track going to be areas where the drivers are going to need to be careful in relation to getting through those, particularly at the start. It is an anti-clockwise track. In terms of our weather here tonight, a very cool 18 degrees on track, very, very overcast, which we did see during the practice, and you can see it ahead there as well. So track temperature not going to be an issue here. Running a 25-minute race, so there should be no issues with fuel in this one as well, as they come around under starters orders here. We're about to go racing. So it'll be Jack Boyd who takes us away to get this first race of the second season of the Oz Pro Am Sim Series underway. 25-minute race. We're 4 or 5 wide down into the first left-hander there. Cold tire is going to be an issue for the drivers as they try to make their way through Thanks very much for dropping in, Calsonic Sim Racing. Appreciate the support as we try and make our way around lap 1 on cold tyres and overcast conditions. Jeremy Clark down in third. It is Jack Boyd and Tom Katsadonis who are currently running in first and second place here in this race. Looking like Cooper Murray ran a little bit wide there through the start on turn 1. Drivers all over the place trying to find their way through as we head down through another chicane. And there is a spin in the mid-pack there. Drivers running wide in the background as well. Looks like Matty Cardleone and Jeremy Clark have crashed out in the early part of this race. Going to try and get through this first lap while the tyres are cold. Jack Boyd doing an excellent job managing that. Luke Bergen's back in third. We've got Cooper Murray fourth. Josh Perwin in fifth. Glenn Boyd, it looks like he's had a spin. Certainly he has. Unfortunately, he's off as well. As the drivers try and make their way through this one, Boyd will get back into the race. Get back through another slow section of the track here. Just through the chicane there. Out of the right-hander. Cheers, Calsonic. Appreciate the sub as well, mate. Thank you very much. As we're on board here with Josh Perwin. He's making his way back through as well. We'll bring that back up, Matt. Just give us one moment, mate. We'll get through this first lap and we will bring up what happened to Matty Cardleone there. As we get through, see Simon Lartner jumped into pit lane. We'll bring that replay up for you now. It was in the background of the shot we were on. He was trying to get track position heading down into the chicane. It looks like he's just, unfortunately, just got caught up in someone else's incident as well. So Jeremy Clark, maybe BJ Kennedy there, the one that span around and blocked the track a little bit. And unfortunately, Matty not able to do anything to get away from that one as he came through a little bit blind. And that has obviously heavily impacted on his result for the first run here tonight. So we jump back on board now with our race leader, Jack Boyd. Notification as well that Luke Bergens has had an incident in this race. Thanks for the follow, Stevie. Good to see you jump on board, mate. And join us. To get you out in the sim rig at work. As it continues to be a Jack Boyd show here. Sam Thurtell as well having an issue. We'll jump on board with that one as well. Lots of accidents. It's an unfamiliar track for a lot of the drivers. Thanks very much, Will Carroll. Appreciate the follow. An unfamiliar track for a lot of our drivers. Certainly not one that is widely used on iRacing. So that'll be partly why I think the administrators have selected it as well, to give us some variety. Get away from the usual sort of half a dozen or so tracks that get used in a lot of our series. And certainly achieving that with the list of tracks that we brought to you for this series coming up throughout the year. So looking forward to it over the next couple of months, getting into it. Gavin, thanks very much for the line. Appreciate it. So I'm just going to bring up a couple of these other incidents that we've had just while Jack Boyd continues to lead this one, 1.6 seconds in front of Tom Katsadonis. We'll just have a quick look at what happened to Luke Bergens a lap or two ago as he comes down. And he's just grabbed a lot of curb there, and that's ended up spinning him around. And just a gentle push around there as well. I think that may have been from Sam Thurtell. We'll have a look there and see if that was the case. So we're on board now with Sam Thurtell, who's had an off as well. This car already looks like it's been in the wars a little bit, and yeah, he's just gone around there and into the trap with the track conditions and the temperatures so low. A lot of the drivers struggling for grip. Jeremy Clark, another one who did cop an early incident as well. Curbs here at Zolder look a little aggressive. He's just gone straight ahead there, and that's not the worst thing on one of the alternate layouts of this track, so it's just registered as a crash. In fact, that's him going into pit lane. I'm not entirely sure why that's registered as an incident, so perhaps a speeding penalty or something similar coming his way. Sam Thurtell, really, really consistent performer last season. Always running just inside that top 10 and building a really solid points haul for himself throughout the season. So expect big things from Sam. The other interesting thing here as well, as we mentioned, is our top two finishers tonight. If they are an AM driver or an amateur driver finishing inside our top 10, finishing in position 1 or 2, they will get promotion to that Pro Series drive. So just trying to pick out on some of our new drivers here. Tom Katsadonis, new to the series. Cooper Murray, also new to the series. Josh Perwin, new to the series as well. In fact, we've got a number of drivers Matthew Johnson as well. All running inside our top 5 at the moment. So potentially looking to get themselves boosted up into the Pro Series with these results. So we'll get a little bit more of an understanding on that as we get through the evening. Already 6 minutes into this one, and what a start we've had. Plenty of action as always. The standard of driving in this category, if you are joining us for the first time, is very high. A lot of these guys, real racers in the real world. We say real racing, sim racing is as real as it gets for some of us, and particularly during the COVID lockdown period. But I can tell you that a number of the drivers run in our in real life race series. In fact, our series sponsor HJ Plant Repairs are involved with one of the AE86 Toyotas. We saw their sponsorship on that car at Bathurst just a couple of weeks ago. So as get another notification of Glenn Boyd having an issue. Turtle, what you need to do to race in this, it is a PC game, so really looking to grab a PC, and you don't need to spend thousands of dollars to get involved. Thanks very much for the follow there, Vin. You don't need to spend thousands of dollars to get involved. You can get yourself, particularly if you're just starting out, a second-hand wheel and pedal setup, and you need a reasonably basic computer to run the program, albeit the better the computer, obviously the better the graphics you can run. And then you're off and running. One monitor will get you there. There's plenty of advice, lots of forums to help you get things set up properly, because getting your driver's perspective set up is really important to being able to maximise pace out of these cars. But some of the fastest drivers you'll see, obviously, on the internet, setups that have had thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars spent on them. Some of the fastest drivers in the world. In fact, the driver that took out the Gran Turismo World Championship on PlayStation did so with a seat that's on wheels and a steering wheel just bolted to his desk with a little 24-inch monitor. So you don't have to have the thousands of dollars worth of equipment to go fast in this. It is very much about how you drive the car and skill, but also be aware it does take time. It's a lot different to running, a standard style PC or platform game. So it does take time to get used to it. So you can get in relatively cheaply, and then you can go there. Yep, G920 certainly would work for it. 920 will do it, and a PC, I think you only even need an i5 PC or better to get on with it. You can run it with a 1080 graphics card. You don't, in fact, one of the guys in our race team runs with a pre-1080 graphics card, and he has no problems with it. So, you don't have to have a $5,000 computer to run it either. So 920, you can get involved. There is a monthly subscription. There is a subscription fee to get iRacing. There is free content you can download with it. Like most games these days, of course, there's downloadable content as well. But you can get involved relatively cheaply. You start out in something like an MX-5 and learn the basics, and then get involved. Plenty of groups to get involved with. As Calsonic said, the community is really good. So encourage you to get involved and maybe jump in a series, and we'll see you up here one day. As Jack Boyd continues his domination, he's now out to 3 seconds in the lead. As we've still got this on qualifying mode, let's give you some idea of the gap between our cars at the moment. Got a battle on here between Tom Katsadonis and Cooper Murray for second place. And no problems at all, Turtle Tross. Thanks for jumping into the stream. And there are other games to iRacing as well. There's a Assetto Corsa Competizione, which a lot of people like too. So there's plenty of other options, but certainly in our opinion, this one is the best platform for realism. We do race in the real world, and this is as close as it gets to it. Without that driving from your bum feeling, but certainly as close as you can get to it, so have a crack. So Tom Katsadonis, Cooper Murray, there's just half a second between them, as you can see there, so one of our close battles. Also Matty Johnson and Luke Bergens very close together as well. In fact, Luke Bergens now going for the pass on Matty Johnson, and he's going to get that done. He's got the priority position, but Johnson doing a good job there, staying down on the inside, trying to keep that. Not quite able to close out Bergens, who does manage to close the gap. Also got a battle further on down the field between Jeremy Clark and Sam Thurtell, battling it out for 12th and 13th position. So a few battles developing right throughout our field. But certainly the ones to watch, Katsadonis and Murray. And I'll keep an eye on the gap as well, a little bit further back between Buchanan, Kennedy, and also between the Clark and Thurtell battle there as well. I think that's really good advice, Calsonic, actually. The one of the things that a lot of people do is they go and buy all the equipment and then find out that it's not for them. And that's why whenever we get asked, we encourage people to just start out with the basics. I started out with a second-hand sim rig, an old G25 Logitech wheel and pedal setup, and in fact a second-hand computer and screen, and got into it. And after a couple of months, I was addicted to it, and so I started gradually upgrading my equipment. The number one thing, if you're looking for, in my opinion, to upgrade is the pedals. The pedals make the biggest difference to how you drive the car in terms of consistency and muscle memory. So, you don't need to spend $1 million on a steering wheel. Certainly more about the pedals for me. But, yeah, you can certainly get an idea of whether or not you like it first before you go out and spend oodles of dollars on it. Because you certainly don't get your money back in the aftermarket. And, again, that's why it's a good place to start buying second-hand equipment. Because it gets you in relatively cheaply, and you can get out of it if you need to. So Thurtell back into pit lane here. Not expecting any pit stops in this first race. We've done 8 laps now with Jack Boyd still in the lead on the 9th. 13 minutes to go. So minute 26 flat basically for him around the track here, doing a fantastic job as we came to become all too familiar with last year. A little bit of damage on the front of the Boyd machine there that I'm not really sure where he picked that up. Maybe on the start, on the first lap out there. We just didn't quite catch it. But yeah, a little bit of damage to the right-hand front corner of that car. Unusual for him to make a mistake. We didn't see too many last season. So keep an eye on that as Katsadonis has got a small break here now on Cooper Murray, about half a second up. With a 1:26.38 last time around, slightly slower actually than Murray, so just that gap there, perhaps the difference in strength of the two drivers around the track. A big lock up there from Katsadonis, blocking that left-hand front, trying to get it pulled up into the chicane before we head back across the start-finish line. Under 12 minutes to go now. Jump back on board here with Matty Johnson, still under pressure from Daniel Webster. It's a battle 4th, 6th and 7th. Quickly jump on board with one of these cars and have a look. We just see Daniel Webster there off in the background, just having a small spin. So that's released the pressure on Matty Johnson. He's off and running now, and we'll enjoy a little bit of a breath of air. Back on board here with Tom Katsadonis, who equally has managed to open up a gap over Cooper Murray now of around about 2.5 seconds. So the field stabilising here as we get towards the last 9 minutes of the race. Daniel Webster, Brady Buchanan now into the mix with one another. Keep an eye on these two as we get through this last 9 minutes. Daniel again, another really consistent driver, getting a couple of podiums last year, or certainly one podium at the very least in the first season. So I expect to see good things from him throughout the year, throughout this season. I'll get there eventually. Big habit to break. Oh dear, getting through the years versus the seasons. But yep, we're into season 2. So Sam Thurtell back into pit lane at the moment. He's just struggling a little bit to get a hold of this one, but expect big things from Sam as we do jump into the non-wildcard part of the series. We're running those GT1 cars. Let us know whether or not you think the Aston or the Corvette will be the stronger of those two vehicles. Certainly as well, let us know which one you think is the better sounding of the two. A couple of ripping cars, actually, those ones to run. On board now with Josh Perwin, another new entrant to the series. Said you will see different liveries from the drivers throughout the series with these one-off wildcard events. One that's going to be really interesting is when we do go to the 87 Grand National cars running at they're going to be quite interesting to see when they do go to Watkins Glen. So we'll that's in a couple of weeks' time. We get through around about 5 weeks at a time before we head to the Americas. So starting out the series in Europe. And then we will go to the Americas for 5 rounds and then finish it off in Australasia. Obviously with the last round I did mention on the 2nd of February next year at Mount Panorama, the only place to end any Australian run sim series in our opinion, of course. And if you are watching, we would appreciate, as always, if you would hit that like button or share. A share would be fantastic, or even a follow if you're not following the channel to keep up to date. We do bring you pretty much streaming every day of the week between iRacing, a bit of Rocket League, and a few other bits and pieces that we do on FGM eCast. We've got plenty planned for next year, so definitely jump on and follow along so you know what's going on as we continue to grow our channel. Big thanks do go out to the series sponsors as well, HJ Plant Repairs, and they've come back on board again this year, so this season again, I've said it, we will get there. They've come back on board again this season as the premier sponsor for the series. So a good time to quickly give a mention to our sponsors. We do see Josh Perwin there getting into pit lane. So I'm just going to keep an eye on this one here. I'm not too sure on the fuel numbers with the way these have been set up. We've got 5 minutes to go and seeing him drop in now. Haven't seen anyone else drop in other than those that have had cause to outside of fuel and tyres. So we'll just see what happens here. He certainly won't take tyres. The conditions are far too cool. So I expect it just to be a fuel stop. Will that mean that the others do need to stop in as well? Gets that fast repair done there to get the car back up to speed. Looks like just a splash and dash, so not even in just for the repair. Just a quick splash and dash there to make sure he gets to the end and he's back out. So this might make a few changes to the way this race concludes. You might get a good solid undercut there, Josh Perwin, which might be part of the plan. So what I'm going to do now is jump back on board with Jack Boyd, who's coming around to complete another lap. It looks like he is in pit lane as well. So he is. So the fuel window on this car is, the way it's been set up, looks like it's around about that 20 or so minute mark. And the reason that's important to note is our reverse grid race coming up is 45 minutes long. So the drivers will need to either conserve some fuel or they are going to have to stop twice based on that number. So we just did get notification as well that Luke Bergens has crashed. That's not actually the case. It looks like the entry into pit lane here does trigger our timing screen to suggest that people have had a crash, but they haven't. So perhaps that's partly to do with the configuration of the circuit. You can see there just a splash and dash. Jack Boyd back out in and on track again. Tom Katsadonis actually leading the race now, but he does still have to make his stop. So we're looking to put in the best lap he can. Try and close the gap down at the front of the field here. Luke Bergens, Brady Buchanan, my apologies, in pit lane as we speak. We'll see how that plays for Jordan Clark in terms of the undercut he's trying to run. It also means some of the drivers that did stop earlier in the race are going to need to stop twice in this one. Of course, our next race is a reverse grid race. So those drivers currently at the back of the field will head to the front of the field, which will include Sam Thurtell and Brady Buchanan, along with Justin Schweikert as well. Glenn Boyd will be up the front too. He'll be one to watch, along with Matty Cartaglione. So it's going to be an interesting second race, this one, particularly with the fuel window as well. Tom Katsadonis is in pit lane, looking really here for where Jack Boyd's coming through, and of course he's coming through right now, so he is definitely going to make it back to the lead of this race with a pretty handy gap as well. He comes through there now. Katsadonis on his way back out of pit lane, so the gap's not going to be huge. Looking around about 7 or 8 seconds. Cooper Murray has also gone past Katsadonis as well. So that is a change for position that has occurred during the pit stop. So Murray into second place now. Katsadonis in third. You can see there as well, part of that is Katsadonis taking on slightly more fuel than Cooper Murray. Stationary pit lane for just over 1.5 seconds additional to Cooper Murray. When overall he was a couple of seconds slower through the pit transition, so it's cost him a place. Cooper Murray now up into second. Got 2 minutes to go here. It does look like Jack Boyd's going to take out this race win, continue his season as he left it. So we should get 2 more laps in by the look of this. Only just, if we do get there. Minute 25.5, the fastest of the race so far, but minute 26.10 where we're at the moment. So this should be the last lap of the race. Daniel Webster jumping into pit lane from 4th. Race Image Motorsport team. So he's going to drop down a few places there. So as it stands at the moment, as I said, Jack Boyd in the lead here by around about 7 seconds across from Cooper Murray. Tom Katsadonis there, that gap settling after the pit stops down to about 1.5 seconds between the two. Jeremy Clark and Josh Perwin battling away with 7/10 between them. They're our closest battles on track at the moment as we head into what I think will be the last lap of the race. Jack Boyd now coming through that last little kink before we get to the chicane to conclude the lap. We've got 12 seconds to go. I think he will get the checkered flag. Yes, he will. So Jack Boyd will take out race 1 here of season 2 of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series, brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs. And as I said, a great way for him to start the season as he concluded it last year. He did take out our last race of the year at Bathurst, and a cracking start for him in his attempt to defend his title. So what happens now? We've got a quick changeover period, and then we will head into our second of our races this evening, and that is a reverse grid 45-minute timed race. So what we'll see there is it'll look like Sam Thurtell will be on pole position with Simon Lartner in second, Brady Buchanan third. Has been a change for position at the back there. So we'll bring you that full grid when we can. I'll just wait for the server to click itself over as the remainder of the field conclude the race. Okay, so there that goes there. So we're just going to take a quick 1 minute break. We will be back with you in just a moment to bring you the reverse grid second leg of this evening's event, and we'll be back with you in just a few moments. Okay, so we're back here. We've got just a warm-up period here that I believe will be fast-forwarded through at some point in time. But at the moment, still sitting as we are. I think Matty Johnson's just jumped out on track as well. one of the things that is good about this sim is the detail that we get in the cockpit of the car. You can see there the master cylinders for your brakes, clutch as well, the switches and stuff like that. The air ducting and the rollover protection or crash protection as well. Your Motec dash working away there too. The dash probably shouldn't be too biased. They do a really good job iRacing when they do scan these cars. It's the perspective of the driver down to the intricate detail. Quite got to the stage yet on iRacing where they've got weather as in rain, but I believe that is coming as well in a not too distant future update. Just recently revised the tyre models on a lot of these cars as well. One of the big benefits of COVID-19 was the iRacing population boomed, and including a lot of professional drivers. You probably all would have seen, the Lando Norrises and some local Shane Van Gisbergen and the likes all getting involved. If they weren't already involved, a lot of them were, but their involvement being highlighted. Of course, the V8 Supercars running their own series as well. And what that meant was that iRacing were able to get a lot more real-life feedback about how the cars feel and the tyres work in terms of drop-off and things like that. And it enabled them to make a lot of updates very quickly, which was really good for all of us. So certainly a lot of changes on the sim over the last 6 to 9 months, more content, but it has meant we haven't got as much new content potentially in terms of things like new tracks, because iRacing spend a lot of time scanning the tracks, making sure that every detail is right, even to the point where if you do slow down on a lap here around Mount Panorama, you can see on Brock Skyline where there's the signatures of and those things that have been written on the wall there are copied on there as well. You can pick out plaques on the side of the road. So they do spend a lot of time getting the detail right on these tracks. And, even Oran Park, I've been told, very much similar to with the bumps in the tracks and all those sorts of things to how it was when people raced on it. Of course, Oran Park now a housing development in New South Wales. So an opportunity to get a chance to drive on that track that we can no longer do, I believe, as well. They're planning to scan Sandown, because at some stage that unfortunately will disappear into the history books as progress continues. So we've got 2.5 minutes here left in this warm-up session. Stick on board here with Matty Johnson. Yeah, absolutely, Calsonic, and those opportunities are going to continue to develop. As I said earlier on, the biggest difference for me, obviously, between this and being in a real race car is just the sensory input. You drive a real race car with the feel that you get through the seat. Not so different to your road car. Whereas this one, you absolutely have to drive everything with your eyes. And I know that sounds like it makes common sense, but in terms of going into a slide or catching the car, you're waiting for your eyes to process the information rather than getting that feeling in the pit of your stomach that you get when a race car starts to break away from you. And it certainly takes it's only a second or so, in fact it's less than that, a tenth of a second to react. But in a road car or a race car, you'll be able to catch that slide, and in some cases drive in that slide. Whereas in this, by the time you see it, it's generally too late to react. So it takes time to get used to that. But certainly consistency, and in terms of learning racecraft of brake markers and how to make yourself a consistent driver works really well. Yeah, exactly. So using the sounds from the car, that's definitely another way people do it. That and the vibrations as well. So yeah, there's lots of different ways to get the sim to give you that information that you need that you don't get. It's the same as when you're racing a proper car. But it certainly is as realistic as we just see a huge tank slapper there from Matty Johnson. It certainly is as close as you can get to real car racing if you're wanting to get involved. You know, and in the Pro, there is the Pro Porsche series that runs. That has a prize pool of $200,000, and of course you're talking about the best across the globe running in that series. But you know, there aren't many series in real life where you can win that sort of money as a consequence of doing something that you love. So the warm-up session here will conclude. As I said, the race coming up as we have a good onboard crash there. Another thing that you can't quite survive as easily in real life. The session will tick over here, and we'll go to our reverse grid race. So let's have a look at the grid for that one. So it will be Sam Thurtell off pole position, followed by Simon Lartner. We've got Matty Johnson and Brady Buchanan off row 2, with Justin Schweikert and Daniel Webster off row 3. Matty Cottolioni off row 4, followed by Glenn Boyd. We've got Sam Lehman and BJ Kennedy off row 5, with Luke Bergens and Josh Perwin off row 6. And then as we move back in the field, we've got Jeremy Clark and Tom Katsadonis off row 7, with Cooper Murray and Jack Boyd off row 8. So what we're looking for here is those drivers in those lower positions to make their way through the field if they can. There's a few up the front that are nice and quick, so it's not going to be as easy as you might think. And yeah, it's going to be fantastic. So let's get ourselves ready for this one. Head back into the outside view as we roll around for our warm-up lap. I haven't spent a lot of time on Race Room Calsonic. I'm going to have a look at that after you mentioning it tonight. And see what goes on there. I've played R Factor and then into R Factor 2 as well. A little bit of Set of Corsa Competizione as well. But iRacing certainly where I have the bug. Of course, we do run our own GT series on Thursday fortnights with the Oz Pro-Am Sim series, which is GT3 and GTE mixed class racing. Not close to the DTMs obviously, but it's where we spend a lot of our time, and between that and the V8 supercars as well. Do a fair bit of oval track broadcasting too, so look after the AnsCar series on Mondays and Wednesdays. I'll have to give that a try, Calsonic. So on board here with Sam Thurtell, who's starting off pole position. Hey Lobes, how you doing, man? Thanks for joining the stream. Look forward to seeing you out there next week. Oh dear, the name that plagued us for no reason necessarily all season last season is Laves. So generally one of our front runners would be definitely starting towards the rear of the grid in this reverse grid race that we're having now. Look forward to seeing you next week at the Berg, where we head for round 2. What are you running? Are you going to be running the Aston, or are you running the Vet? We get ready to go here with Thurtell and Lartner. Remember, lap 1, cold tyres, running the Chevy at all. Lap 1, cold tyres. Let's see what it brings. Get this one underway. 3 wide down the straight already. Between Johnson, Brady Buchanan moving up there. Matty Johnson as well, fighting with Lartner as we try and file everyone through here. Cold tyres are going to be the killer. Got to try and make it through the first corner. It's a 45-minute race. No need to spoil it on the first one. Probably should buy the car there and do some practice in it, albeit I'm sure you'll be quick, as we do have a driver run wide there. It looks like Simon Lartner might have run wide just making his way around on the first lap. As I said, it is really cool conditions here, so there will not be a lot of grip for the drivers. 18-degree track temps, so we're 4 wide down into the braking zone. Brady Buchanan out into the lead now, and he will run as hard as he can. See if anyone can catch him. Looks like Justin Schweikirk did have an off as well. He's running a little bit further back in the field. As I said, fuel is going to be an interesting thing here as well. Those of you who've just joined us, looks like the critical time period for fuel on these is around about 20 minutes, and of course we've got a 45-minute race here, so some fuel management going to need to come into it. And of course Lobesy in the chat is an expert at fuel management. We did see that last season with some extraordinarily long drives through tanks of fuel. Looks like Kennedy may have had an issue as well. But it is Buchanan, Johnson, Perwin as our top 3 runners at the moment. Sam Thurtell, our pole sitter, back to 4th at the moment. And it's going to be on in the back there. Jack Boyd, who was our winner for our first race, already up to 12th, up 4 spots from his starting position in this second event. Keep an eye out on him as Cooper Murray just getting an off track there as well. Yeah, Calsonic, me too, mate. The endurance stuff is what I prefer. So we're not necessarily practicing yet, but our next long endurance race, we're doing Daytona in February on iRacing. So we'll be running that in the Porsche, in the GT category, or the GTE category, which is where we prefer to play. Just finished recently the Road Atlanta 10-hour Enduro Petite Le Mans. So as we've got a spin there as well. Who was that? Looks like it was Brady Buchanan, who has come off. He's down in the dirt, so he's going to up those positions. Jack Boyd now up into 10th as well, so he's making his way through the field relatively quickly. So it is Brady Buchanan who we're coming up on now. And yeah, the 787B Mazda livery, what a fantastic car. There's some videos getting around on YouTube and on Facebook of that car now fully restored in startup, and it's probably one of the best sounding race cars I have ever heard by a fair stretch. Actually, it's just a fantastic thing to hear, particularly when it starts up nice and cold, nice and angry. It sounds brilliant. Kind of almost rivals the V12 Jaguar Le Mans car as well. Another one of my favourites. So one that Larry Perkins drove back in the 70s. So it's the scariest thing he's ever driven. Board here with Jack Boyd. Thanks for the like, Isla. We appreciate it. There's Matty Johnson out in front in this one, under pressure from Josh Perwin. Luke Bergens as well. He's up 8 spots already into 3rd. Perwin up 10 spots into 2nd place, and he's going to get the move done on Johnson and get into the lead of the race. Already only 5 minutes into it. I'm going to let him have it free of charge. Try to get the undercut done back there. Speaking of Larry Perkins in the number 11 car, but not quite able to hold him out. And Luke Bergen's now applying the pressure as well. So good solid battle here at the front early on. 5 minutes in. Have to keep a listen out later on for fuel saving, which will come about. Glenn Boyd in 4th position. Matty Carlione in 5th at the moment. Luke Bergen's fastest man on track with a 1:26.81. In fact, 2 seconds faster. Sorry, my apologies. 1 second faster than the next fastest car. Luke had a little bit of an inconsistent season last year, but really quick. So expect to see him this season do. It'll be really competitive and certainly drive. Gap there, just stabilising it around 2/10. Matty Johnson just trying to keep him out. for the move here, down under brakes. Not quite able to get the job done. Johnson just closing him out there. Just have to make sure, Trent, that you're back in running. Make sure you secure your number. As Luke Bergens now gets the job done, but still being challenged by Matty Johnson here. He's certainly not letting him have it easily. Of course, Bergens getting the better run there. Not quite able to get the switchback done. Matty Johnson, and he now drops to third. Glenn Boyd catching as well. One of our strongest improvers last season from Boyd Racing. Getting I think a third and a fourth in the last 2 rounds. And you can see now a gaggle of cars coming. Matty Cartaleone, Cooper Murray and Jack Boyd as well. Tom Katsadonis not too far behind that. So we've got a very strong battle pack here of 4 or 5 runners trying to make their way through to the front of the pack. Currently about 4 seconds adrift of our race leader, Josh Perwin. Boyd all over the back of Matty Johnson here. See him right there. He's going to try and get the move down on the inside. Oh, and just manages to cut him off there. Johnson close out the gap, I should say. It's just affected his run, Glenn Boyd, out of the corner. So head down in the chicane there, and Matty Cartaleone just chucks his car straight up the inside through the chicane. Good awareness there from Glenn Boyd to make some room. He's lost a couple of places as a consequence of that, but still some really, really good driving from those two. In fact, it is Cooper Murray who's benefited the most out of that. You see here, Matty Cartaleone still battling away with him there to try and maintain that position. Moving right to the outside there, but still managing to keep it there. This track not set up for nighttime racing. We've got a very overcast race as it is at the moment. And Cooper Murray flashing the headlights there on the button, letting Matty Cartaleone know that he is there and coming. And he's going to try and jump down the inside here. Again, not quite able to get it done. Cartaleone just shutting the door. It's affecting his run a little bit. He's got Jack Boyd and Glenn Boyd behind him. Tom Katsadonis as well coming through in that 787B liveried vehicle. 5 cars. So this is the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th at the moment. Matty Cartaleone managing to keep holding them out, but just gets the job done now. Cooper Murray on him. There's a slide in front of him. I think that may have been Sam Thurtell had a spin there, not affecting the battle here too much. As Cooper Murray and Cartaleone continue. Jack Boyd, Glenn Boyd right behind them. Starting to settle a little bit there. We've got Cartaleone in defensive mode against Jack Boyd. We'll be looking to get through and get on with it. Cartaleone no slouch, of course, either. As you can see there, Cooper Murray running wide in front of them. Matty Johnson that little bit further up the road. Gap from this pack to our leader now out to 7.5 seconds. Tell you that Perwin and Bergens at the front of this field are flying 1:26.27, the fastest lap last time around. As we've got a spin there. Let's see who that was. I think it was Matty Johnson who's gone around in front of the pack here. So Boyd now battling it out. So go back and have a quick look at that on the replay. See what happened there. A little bit of damage on the front there. And it's just a single car. He's just gone around by himself. And Matty Cartaleone there, pretty lucky not to get significant damage as a consequence of that one. But did manage to get his way through. So we're back on board now with Cartaleone in 4th place. Cooper Murray in 3rd. What I was saying, 1:26.27 fastest lap last time around. Josh Perwin, fastest lap of the race, only to then be superseded by Luke Bergens right behind him with a 26.13. This pack that we're on board with now doing mid-27s to low 28s, so the gap continuing to widen to our front runners out to nearly 10 seconds now. So they're going to have a little bit of work to do if they want to catch the pack, and of course that's the idea of these reverse grid races. About 13 minutes away from that critical lap point. In fact, it will be in around about 10 minutes time that they will get to that point where they do need to stop for fuel. See whether or not they can make it through to the end on one stop or not. We don't believe they can. As we see Cartaglione now ducking into pit lane to get his pit stop done. So he may well be giving it an early stop so that he can just do a splash and dash at the end. Thanks very much, Calsonic. We appreciate having you in the audience. Absolutely. So Cartaglione, the first of our drivers to pit. That allows Jack Boyd to get away, try and make up some time. On to Cooper Murray. 4 seconds in front of him at the moment. You can see the gap there. Pretty much the length of the straight. As we jump back on board with Josh Perwin, our race leader. He's up 11 spots from his starting position. Currently 1.5 seconds in front of Luke Bergens behind him, who's come through equally up 9 positions. Cooper Murray in third, up 12. Jack Boyd up 12. Glenn Boyd up 3. So he's managed to improve his position as well. After an incident in race 1 that did move him back down the order a little. Matty Cartaglione there, maybe having a little bit of damage from that spin around that we didn't quite get to see on the replay. And that's also why he's decided to stop in just to get that fast repair done. As I said, these drivers will probably have to do a splash and dash. They're going to be about 5 minutes short of fuel for the full race. So probably just take the better strategy there to get that done, as Jack Boyd does the fastest lap of the race at 25.81 that time around. First driver to dip into the 25s. So he's not wasting any more time in trying to make up the gap to Cooper Murray in front of him. And in fact, that gap now dropped to 1.3 seconds that last time around. So Cartaglione here, probably trying to play on the undercut as much as he can. And also maybe to make it through to a lap where he can take a full fuel and get to the end. Behind his strategy there. About a 45-second pit lane transition. It's around about 38 seconds the transition time itself. We haven't had a full fuel stop yet, so we don't know what that looks like. Just get notification Matty Cartaglione has crashed. Just keep an eye on that here. Maybe getting out into the grass a little bit. No, he's just hit that ripple strip there again a little bit too hard. Doing well to avoid anyone else. Just a spin around, so nothing too bad for him there to be able to continue on in the race. Jack Boyd does a fastest first sector as well on his current lap. So again, 25.54, the only man in the 25s on track at the moment. So he is absolutely flying. 6 tenths now behind Cooper Murray. He's dropped that down tremendously over the last couple of laps. Sorry, you can see the gap there. Yeah, Calsonic, we are on Discord. In fact, we can. We're on. We've got our own open Discord as well for for FGM. I can shoot you a link to that one as well. That'll get you into our Discord, which is just updated as well, which is a general gaming Discord as well, but currently about our iRacing series as well. So jump in there, Calsonic, if you want. It's 28 minutes to go. It's getting darker. It is very overcast. It's a little bit more difficult to drive. Note there that just noticed there's a change at the lead. Josh Bergen's had an incident, so we'll just have a look at this board with Josh. Looks like he hasn't seen Luke there. No, he hasn't at all, and he turned across him there, unfortunately. So that has cost them both. Luke Bergen looks like he's back out in front, however, which was a redress that probably needed to take place. But a little bit of damage there on the front of Bergen's car. He's got Cooper Murray now right behind him. Jack Boyd now up into third, right behind them as well. So that incident playing into the hands of Jack Boyd. No worries at all, Calsonic. Thanks for joining us again tonight. We appreciate it. Jump in there as that Discord will change over the next couple of weeks. We broaden out e-sport involvement and what we do with our company here, so some exciting announcements coming up over the next couple of weeks. So 26 minutes to go from got about 2 minutes until we get to that time where we think the cars are going to absolutely have to start pitting in, if we are right. One of the things we generally try and do is to get it all right here on eCast, so Sam Zattel continues to struggle. Yeah, it's really, really good, the new format. I'm loving the regions that we're going to cover. The wildcard races are really cool. We're looking forward to the 87s running at Watkins Glen. That's going to be fantastic to see. And then those Audis as well at Oran Park is just going to be nuts. Coming up over the back of the track down into the final corners. Going to be real interesting in those with the turbos. So just going to be real interesting to see how we get through the Oran Park event. Turn 1, of course, always causes plenty of issues there as well, in terms of even people just trying to get the cars stopped to get them turned in. So no, really great track, Oran Park, for some of that, and car choice as well in those Audis. So 87s, no brakes, no downforce. So we'll see what happens. Could be a recipe for carnage, but I reckon it's going to be a recipe for good racing. So they've done a really great job in putting together the calendar for the next couple of months. In fact, it's going to be running for 4 months, running from November, 3 months, from November basically until the 2nd of Feb. Bergen's still in the lead here, 4 tenths up on Cooper Murray. He's got Jack Boyd right behind him. Yeah, absolutely. Particularly at Watkins Glen. Luckily, they're running the classic setup, so you don't have to worry about that section in the middle there to try and get the thing stopped and turned. As Murray gets on the headlights, and Bergens gives him a little bit of room there and lets him through. Maybe playing on the line is that Bergens is going to stop this lap. See if he goes ahead here. No, he hasn't, so unusual there. Bergen's generally heavy defending. You can see him just returning serve there. They fair old flash of the headlights to Cooper Murray to let him know that he's coming. And the battle is on between Murray, Bergens and Boyd. Josh Perwin right behind them as well. All four drivers pretty evenly matched in terms of lap times, all lapping in that 25 segment. And all of them now on the headlights. Jack Boyd as well getting involved. Should be some really good close racing from these four over the next few laps. So if we get to about a minute and a half away, the drivers should be able to get this done on one stop. Certainly is a compulsory stop in the rules for this one. We're definitely not going to be able to make it without it anyhow. So into pit lane now, we've got Jack Boyd out into the lead. Cooper Murray, Luke Bergens, Glenn Boyd all in pit lane. And they may end up slightly early depending upon when these laps finish. They may not get it to the end. They're going to have to be careful here. The race leader heads across the start-finish line just at the wrong time for them. And there's every chance they may run shy of fuel. Waiting to see here if Jack Boyd jumps into pit lane this time. I think he may do. And there he goes, straight in. We've now got the remainder of our lead drivers. This will be the whole field who will have gone through and done a pit stop. So Jack Boyd already on his way back out of pit lane. We're watching to see where Cooper Murray and Luke Bergens come through. I think they are going to get back into the lead of this one. In fact, they are. So Cooper Murray, Jack Bergens, they're not ending up with a lost position. So it goes back to being Murray, Bergens, Boyd and Perwin. A little bit further back than that is Tom Katsadonis as well. See how we go here. Cooper Murray with about a second gap now. Lane transit time for Cooper and Murray almost identical. That's for Cooper Murray and Luke Bergens, my apologies, almost identical. Jack Boyd. So that's where that extra gap's come from. Again, Josh Perwin identical to him. So it's spread a little bit out now at the front here. about 4 seconds across our leading 4 drivers, as BJ Kennedy has had an incident as well, unless he has jumped into pit lane. No, he has not. So Sam Fattel also having another incident. 19 minutes to go. Luke Bergen's here trying to chase down Cooper Murray. He was faster last time around. Didn't really manage to put a dent in the gap between the 2 drivers though. Oh, as Bergens has a spin. And it looks like that has impacted Jack Boyd as well. So anything can happen there. There's damage to the right-hand front corner of Jack Boyd's car, and that's let Josh Perwin through into second place now. And really what that has done is meant that Cooper Murray, his lead has blown out to just on 4.5 seconds. So 17 minutes here left. Cooper Murray 5 seconds now, just widening that gap a little bit further. Luke Bergens dropped down now 2 places, in fact 3 places down into 5th. The consequence of that spin. I can guarantee he will work as hard as he can to get back up to the front. I don't believe there would have been too much damage. We'll jump on and have a quick look. A little bit of damage to the right-hand front corner of that car. Field spread out nicely now. Our early pit stop now, Lenny Cartaglione, who pitted on like 8th, currently back up into 8th. A bit of a squiggle there for Cartaglione. The track temperature, I'm not sure how much further it will have dropped based on where we started. Track temp around about 18 degrees at the start of this one. They're still just sitting there, just on 19 degrees. So overcast conditions, slight wind as well. So Manny Johnson has another issue as well. Just looking to see how far through this Cartaglione gets before he does have to go again. I'm not entirely sure why the headlight flash is going on there. Maybe not quite realising that he's on the button. Gets round the track, so Jack Boyd still in 3rd, currently lapping quicker than Josh Perwin in front of him. Cooper Murray still fastest man on the track. Adonis not able to keep up either. So really it's here to see Cooper Murray and Josh Perwin both up to the task in terms of potentially getting that pro badge slapped on their car. Time around again, Boyd still eating into that gap to Josh Perwin in front of him. It's now 2.8 seconds. Same for Tell in pit lane. Gap out to Cooper Murray, further 5.5 seconds up the road. So there's a chance here that Boyd may have to settle for second place. 13 minutes still to go. So plenty of chance for things to change, but at this stage it does look like Cooper Murray put together a really decent gap to the field. He pit on lap 15, so there is still that question of fuel, whether or not he's going to just get there if they did run those tanks almost dry to the first stop. 16 laps in was that stop. We're now 22 laps through this one. Cheers, Calsonic. Appreciate it. Always happy to get some help. If you have just recently joined us, it is the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series brought to you by HJ Plant Repairs. And we are here at Zolder for the first of our wildcard races. There are 3 throughout the season. This is the first round of the season as well. Top 2 drivers, if they are from the M part of the series, will get a pro drive in the Pro Series, which is run in the GT1 category. And we've got the Corvette and the Aston Martin running in that main series. So that starts up next week, where we head to Nürburgring, which is going to be interesting. See probably a slightly larger field potentially as well. Jump into this one. It's not uncommon for the Pro-Am to have around 30 cars on track. Pretty well supported series. A mixture of real life race drivers, varying from anything from karting right up to the AE 86 series that supports the V8 supercars. So plenty of different strokes in terms of where people get their racing experience from. So we are starting this series in Europe. We'll then head to the Americas and conclude the series. There's a big slide at the moment there for Cooper Murray. Managed to keep hold of it there. That could have been race ending for him. Hey Hodak, thanks for joining the stream, mate. Luke was running up in second place but did have an off, which meant that he's now dropped back down to 5th. As you know, extremely quick. So see whether or not he can make his way back up to the front. A little bit of damage on the front of his car as well, which is impacting on it ever so slightly. He has made his way back up onto the back of Katsadonis in the 787B renowned Mazda liveried prototype. Absolutely. So we knew he was going to have to get a splash and dash at the end. We'll see how long that takes. And yeah, Cooper's doing a good job already, just maintaining the lead. He has started to drop a little bit of pace to Perwin behind him. And of course, as you'd expect, Jack Boyd is the fastest man on the track at the moment. Over a second faster than Cooper Murray on the last lap around. So he may well make his way back up to the front of the field. 8.5 minutes to go, so looking at around about 6 laps. So he'll have to do some of his best work if he's going to catch Cooper Murray. Will Jack Boyd. Look at the relative lap times now. So you can see there. Do it if we can in the sectors. Just have a look at where Murray and Perwin differ in terms of generating their lap time. As Jack Boyd actually just put in the fastest lap of the race at 25.74 that time around. So just on half a second quicker than Cooper Murray and Perwin in front of him. In fact, if we jump into that battle now between Perwin and Boyd, it continues to close down to a second. Sorry, 1.4 seconds I should say. So have a look at these two sector times. And you can see there that it is Boyd who is putting in the faster sectors. So this is going to be on here. Gap down to 1.2 seconds now between Perwin and Boyd in second and third. Gap to Cooper Murray in front also closing. So Boyd finishing this race really strongly at the moment. Brady Buchanan jumped into pit lane as well late on in the race. A few sparks there from the prototype as it headed into the corner. So those brakes glowing. So slow the car up. Under a second now between Perwin and Boyd. Another lap or so and it's going to be real close here. He's going to get into the draft soon as well. So that gap will continue to close rapidly. Both pitted on the same lap here. So this is just raw pace from Jack Boyd in the open air. Using the curbs aggressively there, Perwin, to get the car to turn. Probably a little too aggressive, these curbs, given how low these prototypes are, to offer much assistance. Some of the curbs here at Zolder are very aggressive. We've seen it cause the drivers a bit of trouble tonight, with a couple of them getting single car spins as a consequence of them. Thanks, Carlotti. We appreciate the follow. Hope you're enjoying the stream. Still Cooper Murray 3.5 seconds up the road from this battle. It's now down to 7/10 that time around. Let's see the difference in the lap times. Perwin a 26 flat, Boyd a 25.77 in comparison to Cooper Murray, who was a full second a lap slower last time around. So the gap now down to 3 seconds. He's probably just going to run out of time, I think, Jack Boyd, to do much about taking out the race win, but Perwin here is going to be under increasing pressure this time around. Get through the sectors. See there's sector 5 where the biggest margin is, but also about a tenth on sector 2. He's been in the draft here. Not terribly long straights here, but there will be some advantage to it. It's now down to 5 tenths, or half a second between the two. Down towards the right-hander in the slalom. See that run up to the chicane. He's all over him now. He's taken 3 tenths out of him this lap, and it's down to 3 tenths now, the gap. He'll be on here, potentially up into the braking zone. Turn 1. We complete yet another lap. 3.5 minutes to go. Gap to the leader as well drops down. It's now 2.6 seconds. How quickly can Jack Boyd get the job done here to move past Josh Purwin? Is he going to have enough time to chase down Cooper Murray, who's led for a fair portion of this race? Gap continues to tumble. You can see him there just on the right hand side of the track, the bottom of your screen. Boyd's going to try and get it done into the braking zone down here. It's just not quite far enough up on Purwin to get the move to stick. Of course, there is that nagging thought in the back of whether or not they've got enough fuel to get to the end as well. Pressure's on here. Purwin and Boyd. Yeah, absolutely. It's still very much alive here between Purwin and Boyd. 2.5 seconds to our leader, Cooper Murray, as well. As Purwin runs a little wide there. Does that open the window for Boyd to get the job done here? Into the braking zone. He's on the lights, letting him know he's there. I think he's probably fully aware of it. Trying to put the pressure on. So we go around to complete another lap. Now probably 2 laps to go, I think. Boyd sticking behind Purwin to get the draft. He's going to try and go around the long way. Will he get the cut back? Not going to work. He's got to try and get down the inside here. He's just not quite close enough. Didn't get a good run out of turn 1. Maybe setting himself up here. He is quicker through the second sector. So will he be able to get the job done there? Otherwise, I feel like it's going to be in sector 5 where he's going to get it done. See here if Boyd can get down the inside of him into the chicane. He's not going to be close enough to put the move on. Really throwing it across it there. Great driving from these two. Lots of respect being shown. Certainly hard racing as well. Just let Cooper Murray stabilise that gap at the front. Lane again. Whether or not maybe you got a drive-through penalty for speeding in pit lane or something. It's unusual for him to have another pit that quick. This will be the last lap of the race. So it's down to Purwin and Boyd. Who's going to get the job done here? Whether or not Jack Boyd can jump up into second place on the podium. Or can Josh Purwin hold him out? Series winner last season, Jack Boyd. So race leader Cooper Murray there on the lights to let everyone know he's coming through. We're halfway through this final lap. It's still very tight. So we head up towards the top of the circuit. Sweeping right-hander. I feel like he just needs to be close enough to him. Down into the slalom. And then potentially into the last chicane is where he's going to have a dig. See if he can get it done. He's not going to get it done down around the outside there. He's going to try and switch back down the inside. Again, not able to get it. So we're approaching a slower car there. I believe that's Sam Thurtell. We've got the checkered flag out for Cooper Murray, who is going to take the race win here. And gets the job done. Congratulations, Cooper Murray, for the win. As we've got a little bit of a drag race happening in the background. And I can tell you it is still Josh Purwin who has managed to get across the line. Just ahead of Jack Boyd. 2 tenths in it at the end, and some really good racing at the front of the series here. So first round in, and boy do we have a couple of drivers who are going to battle really hard throughout the season. Cooper Murray taking out the win. Josh Perwin in second. Jack Boyd in third. And a great drive from them. Tom Katsadonis in fourth. Welcome to the series. A good start for him, along with Jeremy Clark, Glenn Boyd, BJ Kennedy. We've got Daniel Webster, Matty Johnson, and Sam Lehman rounding out the top 10 here. We'll bring the results up on screen for you as well. Just waiting for them to come up. And there they are on screen for you. So have a look through those. As I said, Cooper Murray, congratulations on the win there. A really good drive at the end. And good battle between Josh Perwin and Jack Boyd in second and third place. So we should be joined by our racers in a moment or two. Waiting for them to jump into the green room so we can have a quick chat with them there and find out how they found it. And see how we got on. So, as I said, we looking forward to the remainder of this season. Next week we do head to the Nürburgring in the GT1 category. Same time, same place on FGM eCast, your replays for pace. So do join us there, where we look forward to seeing how many turn up and what sort of racing we get involved in with that one. Tomorrow night we do have Anscar midweek Speedway coming to you from around about 7:45. And then for us, that is about it until Sunday night, when we head to the V8 Supercar Oval Series for another instalment of what that has to bring us. So I think maybe some up late Friday night Rocket League as well. So plenty to come on FGM eCast for you over the remainder of your week. Just waiting to see if Murray, Perwin and Boyd will join us in the combox. And a big thank you, Calsonic, to joining us during the stream. Appreciate that. And yeah, we'll see you again another time. So just waiting to see if any of the drivers are going to join us in the combox for a chat after the race. If they don't make it in, then that will be us done for the evening. Really glad to have the Oz Pro Am Sim Series back on FGM eCast for another season. As you can see from tonight, there's plenty to look forward to in terms of the quality of the racing across the series. Plenty of battles throughout the pack as well, so looking like it's going to be a good one for us for another season. The new structure of the category looks fantastic as well. As we said, we do transcend 3 regions: Europe, the Americas, and then we head to finish it out in Australasia around about the 2nd of February next year. So plenty to come from this series as it continues to develop in its 2nd season, and very much looking forward to being a part of that for the remainder of this year and into next year as we get things done. So that does look like it's going to be it for us tonight. The drivers potentially having to duck off at the end of the round. So we will have some highlights brought to you on the channel throughout the rest of the week. So do have a look out for them. Again, for everyone that joined us on the stream, we, as always, really appreciate the support and the support of our partners, Aftershock PC and the team at Virtual Motorsport Mentor as well for supporting our channel. And just as I say that, Cooper Murray has jumped into the Combox. Cooper, congratulations on a great win.
Thank you very much. That was a good way to start the season with the wildcard event and a good car track combo.
Yeah, absolutely. Zolder, an interesting place to run, and certainly in the prototypes as well. Noticed a couple of drivers struggling early on with the low track temp too to get tyre temp up and keep things running. It was a little bit sketchy for the first part of the race.
Yeah, for the first few laps until the tyres warmed up, it was a bit sketchy, especially with all the power that the prototype produces. So you just had to look after the tyres a little bit at the start and try not to burn them up while the tyres are cold. Otherwise, they'd be wrecked for your whole stint, which is not what you want.
No, certainly needing to baby it around, and pretty close on the fuel number as well.
Yeah. I ended up making it with about a litre and a half left, so I saved a little bit too much, but it's better to save too much than not enough. I had a decent gap behind me, so I could save a little bit more to be sure I'd make it to the finish.
So certainly a good start to the season, and we're joined as well by third place Jack Boyd, who unusually joins us in third place tonight. Just getting a little bit of bad luck there in the latter part of the race. You're coming home really strong though.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the way it goes. Luke had a little moment on the grass, I think, and nowhere to go. So still good to come home in third. Had a fair bit of floor damage and also a bit of right front damage. So yeah, probably still a good showing, I think, and at least we've got a good banker at points going into the championship.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously a reasonably strong front of field as well going into the championship too, with a number of strong drivers joining the championship this year. So going to make things a little bit more challenging for you.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's great to have Cooper in the series. That's awesome. And also Josh, I did a VCO tournament with him earlier in the year. So yeah, that's great to have these guys come on board.
Looking forward to seeing what the year brings us. Definitely an interesting change to the format here with, we were just covering it off, travelling or transcending the regions of the globe. So we're off to the Nürburgring next week. And jumping into the season proper, shall we say, cars out of the wildcard event. Both of you going to continue running, obviously, into the main part of the series.
Yeah, like it'd be good to complete the whole series. Obviously having a good start for the wildcard event, then looking forward to competing in the Aston Martin in the GT1, which will be good. It'll be a good competition with the guys at the front, Jack, Luke. It's going to be a good fight for the championship throughout the whole season, and I'm sure there'll be a few 0x's and 4x's here and now and then, but it'll be good fun.
And what about you, Jack? What have you decided to run?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, me and Cooper will be in the Aston. Should be a whole heap of fun. We got obviously Josh, Luke, all the fast guys now, and also Dad. He'll make an appearance. So yeah, it's going to be a really good season.
Yeah, we have no doubt that Glenn will make his way up the boards throughout the year. No doubt about it at all. So, as usual, as we do, anyone for you guys to thank? I guess we'll start out with you, Cooper.
Yeah, I'd just like to thank HM Engineering, my sim team, me and Jack's sim team. It's good to have them on board and take faith in us to take them on their team. And I think we did them pretty proud that race, first and third, and first and second in the first race, which is good. So I'd like to thank them.
And on top of that, Jack?
Yeah, again, same as Cooper, I'd like to make a big thanks to HM Engineering for taking me on board in the last couple of weeks. Yeah, got a really good program going on, and it's really exciting to be a part of.
So this is a new team that's been formed, or you guys have just joined into an existing program?
So this team started late last year and has fastly grown in the iRacing and R Factor 2 ranks. At the moment, where all the team is trying to qualify for PESC, so they're a fairly experienced team, and we just joined them a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, they're fairly new, but got a lot of experience behind them, which is good.
And for those of us not in the know, what is PESC?
So it's a Porsche Super Cup Championship, World Championship. It's qualifiers for next year. So the top 20 from the next 5 weeks of the Porsche Cup Series get to go into the World Championship next year.
Yep.
Which, like the Australians, Josh Rogers and Phil Sell raced. Or Josh will race it next year. But yeah, that's what the team's trying to do, and I'll give my best shot as well as Jack.
So what does that involve for you guys doing there? You've just got to participate in those qualifying races, do you, and accumulate points?
Yeah, so the top 30 points from the week in the Porsche Cup go into the Super Session Saturday night, and the top 20 from the points in the Super Sessions over the 5 weeks go into the PESC World Championship next year.
That sounds very interesting. So we'll definitely have to get an update from you on how you guys get on with that throughout the season as well. But obviously we're really pleased to have you back on board for another season, or for your first season, Cooper, of the Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. So great racing tonight, and looking forward to seeing what happens next week when we head to the Berg.
Thank you very much. See you all next week.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And as I said before, that does bring a conclusion to our evening tonight with Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. We are back tomorrow with coverage of Anscar for the midweek Speed Week round, and looking forward to bringing you guys that one as well as we get into the week. And from us on FGM eCast, your E-Place for Pace, that's it for another night. Thanks very much for everyone who joined me, and look forward to seeing you again tomorrow night at around about 7:30. Thanks very much for watching.